Any names, places, or likenesses mentioned are used for storytelling purposes and may be fictional or speculative. The opinions expressed by guests are their own and do not reflect those of Cosmic Crumbs or its hosts. No guarantees are made regarding the accuracy of any stories discussed, and we are not responsible for how this content is interpreted or used. This show contains vulgar language and sometimes graphic material. Viewer discretion is advised.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the CCP. We're taking it back. I keep saying that, but I'm super excited today. This week we have a very special guest and a very special friend of mine, founder of Weird Realities and an amazing author, Hadley Thorne. Thank you for jumping on.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here and to talk about all the stuff with you.
Yes, and we are going to talk about all this stuff.
It's never just been us.
That's true. I don't think it ever has.
It's been me and Cecil, but not me and you. So this is going to be fun.
Yes. And for people who are just meeting you for the first time, will you give a little bit of background about you and what you're about?
Sure. Let me see. What do I want to say about me? Well, I am Heather Bradley, but the storytelling world would know me under the pen name Hadley Thorne. I am the founder of Weird Realities. It started kind of off as a podcast in 2020 and has grown into a community for people who love storytelling through folklore, weird history, movies, and speculative fiction. We're just a kind of a group of authors and friends who've gotten together and kind of grown into this collaborative digital campfire, would you say? I write a series. It's called Tapestry of Worlds. I've got 3 books out, and I'm working on a folklore book to go along with my straight-to-video series called Tales from Greenwich Hollow that explores myths and legends. It's kind of my way. I think I haven't mentioned this, but I recently moved from my home in central Mississippi to the Mississippi Gulf Coast. And so I'm exploring the local myths and legends down here. So I spend a lot of time chasing stories and learning what I can about weird legends and stuff that I can use in my writing.
So what do you think pulled you toward the campfire? Like, what pulled you toward like podcasting, writing? Did you just find yourself one day just longing, like you were figuring out the missing piece and you realized that was it?
No, I mean, when I was a child, that was what my greatest story. I loved to create art that told stories. I loved my stuffed animals had little stories, but it was always about storytelling. And I think it comes from, I love to listen to people tell stories, whether it's like, I'm the youngest in my family. And by that, like, my sister's 7 years older than me, and she's the closest to my age. So I grew up sitting at everybody's feet, listening to all the adults talking about weird stuff. And I say weird stuff. I thought it was weird. That's always what I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear about the giant snake that my grandmother saw crossing the road, just weird stuff. And so from there, I love to read. I wanted to be an author. And that's just kind of where it came from, is I always knew I wanted to write a book. And in 2020, when everything shut down, my mother was on hospice. I was taking care of her, and I didn't have any type of outlet. And so I thought, well, I'm not working. I will probably never have this opportunity again. So I'm going to write that book. And, it was, like I said, it was a lifelong dream. And I was able to accomplish that, get my first book published, and hand it to my mother before she passed away. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, I don't want to say that was a good thing for your book or anything, but that's one of the most difficult losses a person can experience, in my opinion. But
Well,
you know,
let's not talk about the dark side of it. But
oh
no,
yeah, yeah,
it was really cathartic in many ways to be able to share that with her, for her to see me accomplish my dream. You know,
yeah.
that's the point of this. It wasn't to make anybody feel sad. And I want to say hey to Landa and hey to Cecil. Hey, hey.
Hey, y'all. Um, so the spiritual components that sort of are, I don't know, intertwined within your books and just your overall writing style. When did that come into play? Like, when did you really get in tune with sort of that side?
Oh, let me see. The spiritual aspect of things. I come from the buckle of the Bible Belt. I mean, it's religion is in everything that you say or do in Mississippi. And my mother's parents, my grandmother was Methodist and my grandfather was Catholic. So that was already, an interesting combination there. And my dad grew up Southern Baptist in this little bitty church in Louisiana. And so religion was steeped into everything. I went to vacation Bible school every summer. I went to um, kindergarten at a church growing up. So I went to college at a local Christian college. And it's always been in everything, but I was blessed by having parents that let me explore what I thought the truth was. And I just explored. I mean, I grew up, like I said, third grade reading Roman and Greek mythology. And seeing that there was more to what the belief systems were than just Christian. And I was just always kind of interested in exploring that. But I would say that my grandmother probably had a lot to do with it. She was a quote witchy woman. She had dreams that came true. My mother was an empath. My mother was a very strong empath. I have dreams that come true. So all that was stuff that a lot of the um, text that I was surrounded by wasn't necessarily supportive of, but culturally my family was. And I think I've told you my Aunt Jane is my mother's older sister. She married a Native American, and my uncle's part of the Ponca Indians. They're a very small Indian tribe based out of Oklahoma. He's an elder in their tribe, and I grew up on the opposite side having that culture surrounding me. Like whenever I'd go to their house, it was full of art that his family had created and he had brought to South Louisiana with him. And so there was a lot of just curiosity. And I think that's really what it all boils down to. It was curiosity.
Yeah, I think people would be surprised at how much woo is involved in the Southern Bible Belt culture. Like they don't even know is woo.
Oh yeah, they don't.
Um,
I went into a friend of mine's house who is, and her whole family is very Christian. And her grandmother had an altar with a bunch of rocks. And I walked in, and I mean, and if you're sensitive to like the vibration of stuff, I was pulled to this corner of the living room because of the vibration. And it was those rocks, and it was like they were singing. And I was like, okay, I knew this girl had some woo in her. And she's probably one of the witchiest people I know, and is not a witch. She's completely Christian. But little things that she does is just very, very woo.
yeah. Yeah, I had a very similar experience, growing up in Appalachia. We've talked about that a lot. Um, but have you ever, like, while you've been researching stuff for your books, and because you really get into it, like when you start talking about something in your book, especially like religion-based stuff or spiritual stuff, you do a lot of research, and I think a lot of people can appreciate that when they're reading your books. But have you ever uncovered anything like in your research that's just genuinely floored you or surprised you when you were researching it for your book or
Yes.
any of your books?
I would say that my books come from a lifetime of research based off like curiosity and wanting to know, wanting answers. And I put that in the books, but I mean, it's like been little things. And I think I've told you, I know Stephen Hill and I've talked about it, but one of the things that I found out was, in Norse mythology, the forest giants are basically Bigfoot. I mean, that's they line up so much, and it's like, okay, this is interesting. Um, and I'd always been fascinated by Bigfoot just from watching Boggy Creek when I was little.
To get the
To
pet,
I think
get
I
the pets
watched,
there.
yeah, I think I watched that movie, and then my dad took me deer hunting. So it really made an impact on. I believe that there's things that watch us in the woods, but yeah. So just little things like that just kind of click into place, and I've had things that I've learned just, and this goes into the different levels of awareness and stuff, and just kind of feed into stuff that I might have felt. And I'm a big believer in the truth feels different. It hits you different. And when you find something that resonates with you, you should really pay attention to it, whether or not 2 million people believe it. You know what I mean?
I
If,
agree. Yeah.
if it resonates with you, your truth could be definitely different than someone else's.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, as you know, all of our friends have completely different backgrounds,
Mm-hmm.
and we all just kind of converged on, on the strange, like on the weird. And I, I don't think you have to, and that's not everybody though. Some people think if you're not like me, you are the enemy. But when it comes to, I think if there were more people like us that were open-minded to things, it'd probably be a lot more peaceful place.
Well, and that's going into the weird. That's one of the reasons that I chose the spelling of weird realities was, first off, my mom used to always say, nobody's weird but me and you, and sometimes I wonder about you, you know? And
Yeah.
so that was just kind of like a little fun thing. But weird is about that kismet, synchronistic strangeness that connects us. Is that's where the word WEIRD comes from, is from the weird, which is that coincidental, that synchronistic, that serendipitous thread that you go, oh wow, what does this mean? And that's what I love and thrive on, is that curiosity.
Yeah. And you can tell, like you could definitely tell, like it's weird has evolved over the years, but the soul has kind of remained the same. Like even if it has evolved, like in my opinion, the soul has remained. Like you know the I don't even know what I'm trying to say. I'm rambling, but you get what I'm saying.
I do. It has. I mean, that was kind of the whole thing about this year, was going back to our roots, which is the storytelling. Because
Mhm.
I love the paranormal, but a lot of my a co-host, I don't even know what we call each other. A lot of it was a very, not everybody's into that, and a lot of our audience is pulling from people who aren't necessarily um, into the woo.
Yeah,
And
normies.
yeah, but yeah. the muggles. But so when y'all's wanted to kind of branch out, it made sense to me. And then I think I told you, Sylvester Barzy, one of our good weird friends, he used to be a weird kid with us. He kind of came to Bethany and said, "Hey, would y'all be interested in taking over management of these book clubs?" And it just kind of like drove home. Well, this is the universe's way of saying this is how I need to niche down and get back into that whole place of storytelling. Because for me, the folklore is a large part of what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll never be separate because I love the mysticism. I love the mythologies, the legends, the stuff that, like I said, I want to sit down at your knee and hear you talk about. I want to sit around the campfire. I want to know that. And that's kind of where we're going back to.
Well, yeah, and that kind of leads into what I was going to ask next. It's just, at this stage in your life, like what kind of stories are you feeling called to tell based on, where we're at, how far we've came?
I want to finish the story that I have out there, which I've got like 9 books lined up in my head. But the stories that I'm wanting to tell right now are more about, I guess, like how people can overcome bad situations and bad people and thrive. Stories of survival and endurance are kind of like where I'm rooted at right now.
Okay. Well, I think that's interesting. I think that's cool. Do you have like a crazy writing process? Like, whatever you write, do you like bar the door and
No.
you're only using a candle to write? Do you have any like weird stuff like that where
I
you're
used to do stuff like that, Tully. I mean, I used to I'd get the red wine out and put the 9-inch nails on. And I do have a writing process where, like, when I'm really into the writing, I have certain songs I listen to. And every book and every character has like a playlist on my Amazon playlist, and that music is a large part of me. And I think I don't know if I've ever shared this, but I used to play the saxophone. I grew up playing the saxophone.
What?
And my first husband, rest in peace, he's passed away. He was a bass player. I used to be very into the music scene in Central Mississippi and very tuned in. In fact, this week, one of my shaman class friends has introduced me to a medicine woman that lives close to Morgana and is
Okay.
wanting to introduce me to her to kind of hang out. And she posted on her Facebook where she was watching one of my friends from back home in a jam session. He was playing. I haven't seen this guy in 30 years.
It's synchronicities.
Well, that's the whole thing. Like, this guy's wife, her name was Deb, and she was amazing. And they had met when he had moved out to LA to pursue his musical dreams. And she was like this old hippie lady. And I say old, she was older than him, and he was much older than me. And she was just like this very hippie, very gypsy soul person.
Okay.
And she's where I get, I don't know if you've ever heard me say this. I'm feeling very telepathetic. I felt you calling me on the big telepathetic phone. And that's how she would say it, is telepathetic. But she's like, dude, I've been thinking so hard of you. And here you are, you just walked in, and she's like, there are places that are just doors. And when the doors are open, all the right people come together. And then, sometimes those doors close and we won't see each other for a long time. And I was like, well, I guess those doors are open because there's Barry. And if you get a chance to listen to Barry Leach, he's an amazing, he plays like multiple instruments, but he's a great jazz guitarist.
Okay.
But he also plays the bass. He also plays the drums. He does a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I am always receptive to listening to new people, new types of music and stuff. I'll have to check it out. You were talking about music and in the creative process, and music is an art in itself that
Oh,
I
yeah.
think lends to other creativity. Like you were saying, I've got a good friend who's a tattooer and a painter, and
Ooh.
that's how he gets in his flow state is with
Mhm.
music. So I can imagine it being similar when you're,
It's just like people having that certain song they listen to when they're working out.
yeah,
It hypes you up, it gets you in that space. And I mean, like, there's like, I can't think of the name of the song right now, just off the top of my head, but like there was one song that I played over and over and over while I was writing one scene in the tapestry book. And it was because in my head, this is the song that's playing when this is going on. And I was trying to pace it with that vibe of the music.
yeah.
And my third book, which it was very heavily based on music. My main character was she played the Irish fiddle, and that was like I listened to a lot of Irish music, listened to a lot of violin, I listened to a lot of things during the writing process of that book because that was kind of the basis of her character.
That's interesting. That's cool though. I
I'll put the
can.
song list in my books because in case people like them,
You heard it here
because
first.
I would like that.
Yeah, I would say if you're out there and listening to this and you're interested in any sort of stuff that we're talking about, you need to go get Hadley's books. I don't know what is the easiest way. Amazon.
Amazon. That's the only place I've published directly to Amazon. So.
Okay. Just seeing what Alan said. He says his uncle played for Al Hertz and Pete Fountain Jazz in New Orleans.
That is so awesome.
Yeah.
I'm down here by New Orleans now, so I like that.
How close are you?
About an hour.
I'm
I
jealous.
had to go to a meeting. It was off of Canal Street, and it took me, I think, 70 minutes to get there from my house, and that was stopping to get gas.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. I'd be going for the food alone. The food culture down there is nuts.
No kidding. We'll talk about that though, because I got lots to say.
Yeah, I mean, on that topic, do the stuff I'm curious, like in Mississippi, because you grew up in Mississippi, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
What, like as a child, do you remember being like the big staple in Mississippi? Like what was a Southern staple in the Mississippi area?
Well, fried catfish.
Okay.
Like every Friday night, my parents wanted to have fried catfish growing up.
That's funny because like where I'm at is super like dominated by Catholics. And it's Lent currently. So every Friday here, it's normal like in the spring. Every Friday, every restaurant in the area serves fish for Lent.
Well, it's like that down here too. Where I've moved to, it has a more Catholic culture
Mm-hmm.
and Episcopalian. It's just a big mix down here on the coast, but more so than it was in Jackson. We didn't have. I didn't grow up around that many Catholics or there.
Me either. Yeah.
But it was not a religious thing. It was just they love fried catfish. I mean,
Well, yeah, that's what I was getting at. Is I've never heard that as like a weekly staple outside of like a Lent situation.
there was a place called Cindy's Catfish, and we would go every week just about. And then there's another place called Cock of the Walk. And my sister, get this, my sister has moved back she lived overseas for about 20 years. They've moved back to Mississippi, but she lives in Laurel, which is about an hour drive from Jackson. And anytime I go to Jackson, she goes, go by Cock of the Walk and get me some catfish.
That's wild. So that, is that, would you say like even today, like a meal that makes you feel like takes you back to home?
I don't like fish that much.
No,
especially, I don't eat catfish. Like I'd have to get chicken nuggets.
Is it? Stop.
I would. My grandmother told me when I was little, be careful you don't choke on a bone. And it just like as a child, I was very concerned about choking on a bone.
I'm gonna go out and try to get some fish this weekend. Not catfish though. It's trout fishing time around these parts.
Yeah.
And
Well, I'm on and this is just talking about childhood. I grew up every summer. I would go visit my Aunt Jane and my Uncle Charles, and they had a fishing camp in Grand Isle, Louisiana. And I would go, and I mean, you would never. They have a picture of me. I'm probably 2 months old in a bikini on the water at Grand Isle, and this because they would go fishing. My mom would take us, but I grew up going, and like I said earlier, I'm the baby, and so all the kids were like teenagers and college students, and then there was me. So I got stuck with the adults. So I grew up being, with the grown-ups doing everything. And so it would just be me, my aunts and uncles, and my mom, and we would go fishing every summer. And it was some of the best times of my life.
mm-hmm.
And Grand Isle is like literally like less than three miles long. It is a place I feature in my books. I love it. It is just a very interesting place, very Cajun, very marine coastal, but very salt of the earth people.
Yeah, I'm looking. I mean, it looks like the beach.
It looks good since they had that BP oil spill cleanup down there. But growing up,
Oh,
there was like tar balls and needles washed up on the beach. It was
that's
not
crazy. Well, yeah, Google showed me like the picturesque beaches. But no, yeah,
it is called the Redneck Riviera.
nice. I could appreciate that.
But it's got some of the best fishing, and we would go offshore. Like, I don't know if you've ever been coastal and you've seen like the big oil rigs offshore.
I've
Like
never seen them in person.
Well, we would go on the boat. My uncle had a boat. We would go out there and go fishing. And so, I mean, I'm like, this is so 1980s, what I'm about to say. So I would be the only child, and all the adults would be drinking, and they would have me out. We couldn't even see land, and catching sharks.
Yeah,
And I'm like, whose idea was this to take this child out there?
A reasonable amount of danger. That's probably not it.
Who thought this was a good idea? But it was a lot of fun. It was a different time, but yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So when you all got together, like I can think, like for me, the family get-togethers had a little bit different food than what my mom and dad would make. Whenever your family got together, like for reunions or Christmas or Thanksgiving, was there something that they would make that you're just like, oh man, this only gets made at the function and not in real life?
Yeah, because I mean, like when we all got together, there was about 19 to depending on who all was there. Because like I said, around when I was still young enough for us to do this,
what is
everybody
that?
else. I'm sorry, what?
What is that Alan said? Are you familiar with that?
I don't know what pig picking is.
I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that is.
I'm sorry. Put it in the chat, Alan. I'm sorry to interrupt, Hadley. Go ahead.
Is it like pickled pig? I don't know. That's not what we had. But no, when we would go to my mama's, we would we would go every year for Thanksgiving and Easter. That was our big holidays that we got together. And it was my mom. She was the youngest of three girls, and she had a younger brother. And each of her two sisters had two children. And I had two cousins that are male. Then my Aunt Jane had a male and a female. And then there was my sister and then me. Then I think, gosh, when I was probably 14 or 15, my Aunt Delane and Uncle Mac, that's my mom's brother and his wife, they adopted a child. And so that's when all my cousins started having babies. So then that's the next generation is like there. So I was pretty much the lone wolf in the middle. But we would go, and it's like my Aunt Mackie and my mama would work together to make this big pan of cornbread dressing. and it is something we only had at Thanksgiving and Easter. It was the best stuff. My
Okay,
Aunt Jane would make a pecan pie, and there was it wasn't the sweet potatoes. It was like a sweet potato casserole with a pecan topping, which was delicious. Much better than the marshmallow that people like now. No, it was much better. Of course, you had the green bean casserole. And what else? My mom would usually do a smoked turkey, and they fried a turkey. I mean, it was just a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah, that sounds amazing though. I do.
I'm going to get my aunt. She's the last one who still knows how to make that dressing. I'm going to get you the recipe.
Nice. That would be awesome. Yeah, because I'm gonna try to put together like every week. I encourage people to sign up for my spam mail, and what I do is after every show, I put together like recipes that we talk about and stories that we talk about. In this case, I'll probably just like try to find a recipe to like email out to people after the show with links to all your books and stuff. But if you're out there and you're listening and you haven't signed up, it's free to do. And if you miss a show, you'll still get a spam mail, and I'll tell you what happened. I'll put the spoopy stories in the email so you don't have to even listen to me. But yeah, I would love that recipe just to try. I like cornbread. Are you a sweet cornbread or a not sweet cornbread person?
Not sweet cornbread person.
Me too.
I like buttermilk cornbread. I don't like sweet milk cornbread.
Yes.
Things like cake. I mean, what's up with that?
The only exception might be at a barbecue joint. Like sometimes I've had sweet cornbread that's like sweet jalapeno cornbread.
Yeah.
With a barbecue is a pretty good combo, but with anything else like Southern cooking, fried taters, regular cornbread.
Now, my Uncle Charles would make a cornbread. And like I said, he's Native American. He's from the Ponca tribe, Ponca, and he would make a cornbread that it was like a Mexican cornbread, but I think it had meat in it, and it was the best thing ever. So I'm guessing it's probably like a combination of like fry bread and cornbred or something.
Yeah, yes.
Delicious. He's the best cook in my family, in my opinion. My Aunt Jane baked, but she let him do all the cooking, and he was great. He is a phenomenal cook.
Caitlin was on about a month ago, and she kind of gave us the history of how fry bread became embedded in Native culture. And she talked about like one of her family's recipes for that, and it sounded amazing. So I can only imagine. I'm jealous that you got to eat that. I want to try it.
I meant to send like the family a chat to send me the recipes, and I forgot. Actually, was thinking about that earlier, but
if you can get recipes, submit them on the link tree, and I'll share it. Like that's the first thing I'm doing every week is sharing anything anybody submits.
Okay.
So if there's recipes or you think of something crazy that we didn't get to, you don't even have to submit it. You can just email it to me. But if you're a normie out there, you can submit it, and that's the first thing I'm doing every week is reading user submissions, and then we'll get into everything else.
Well, I was so excited to come on and talk about food because I will tell you that, I lived in North Carolina for a while, and I don't even want to call him my partner, but that guy that I live with over there. Now we lived together for about 5 years, but he was in the Army, and so we lived in Fort Bragg. And I moved from Mississippi over there, and I'm very, like I said, South Louisiana, Mississippi, my whole life, and get to North Carolina. And it made me appreciate the food situation in Jackson so much more. Because,
Really?
oh my God, everything was a chain. And it was so disappointing. He took me to the beach. We were gonna I was like, oh my God, we're gonna have shrimp. We're gonna be able to eat all this yummy seafood. And it was very bland. It wasn't really seasoned. And it just made me realize what a good thing we got going down here, because it is legitimately, like, in the Jackson area, every place that I would go was a locally owned restaurant, and you just don't realize the difference. I mean,
Yeah.
unless that's what you're around. And it's the same like with Louisiana, like New Orleans. And my aunt and uncle lived in Homa, and they had their place at Grand Isle. And so I, had family in Baton Rouge, and it's just anything beneath Baton Rouge. I lived in Lafayette for a little bit. My sister had lived there when she was in college. I've got cousins that live there. And if you ever have the chance to go to Lafayette, Louisiana, that is the best eating you'll ever do in your life.
I'm going to have to make my way back down. I haven't been to New Orleans in a long time, but I do remember the food being excellent and all the mom and pop places that there were.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not like that everywhere,
Yeah.
In Ohio, like all you're going to get is strip mall food joints. Usually, every town looks the same, kind of, but down there, it seems like every town kind of has its own personality and
Oh, yeah.
own twist on certain dishes and stuff.
Just on the Mississippi coast, one of my friends lives down here, and she said that she had seen a cartoon someone had drawn about comparing all the little cities to the kids in the Breakfast Club, because they're all so different. And I live in Ocean Springs now, and it is a far cry different than where I started out over in Waveland and Bay St. Louis when I moved down here first last year. And Bay St. Louis is like a little New Orleans. A lot of people from New Orleans come over on the weekends there. That's where they're buying houses or moving to that area. And that's only like an hour from where I'm at now, probably less. But it's just a different vibe, and the food's different. And then over here, we recently had a little restaurant that somebody from New Orleans, that they have their big restaurant in New Orleans. They opened another little restaurant over here. So,
Do you have, like, since you've moved, do you have like a spot that you are like your secret spot? Do you have a local place that you've been going to since you moved?
I do, but it's not for the food. Um, this down here, the food is really good. Don't mishear me, but there's so many of these little eclectic, atmospheric type places you can go. And there's a place called Mosaic in Ocean Springs, that outside on the street they have the sign that says it's a husband daycare drop off. And it's got a bar, and they have music, and they've got like an ale house connected to it.
So
And
it's a lively joint.
yeah, it's not even really a joint. It's open air. You can go. It's a little golf cart community, so it's very walkable, and it's just a lot of fun. I mean, it's just that's the whole thing down here is just very different. Like I said, my sister she lived in South Korea for 4 years, and then they spent the rest of their time in Germany when they were overseas. And she had some friends that came down around Thanksgiving, and they were staying in Biloxi. And my sister's like, "Oh, have you been here? Have you been here?" And when they came to Ocean Springs, they were talking about, like I said this, I went to lunch with them, about how much it's like Europe. Not that it looks like Europe, but it has that same outdoor living space,
Yeah.
outdoor walkable. It is a hidden gem down here. People just don't realize that something like this is going on. It's very, very nice.
Yeah, there's a few places like that around America, but that's kind of a diamond in the rough, I think, to
Yeah.
find a community like that.
Yeah.
Um, I completely spaced. Did you tell me that you lived overseas at one point, or maybe you just visited?
No, I've never been overseas.
Really? I
I've
must
been,
be
I've been to Canada. I stayed in Canada for a while.
okay.
My friend, Katie Henderson, her mother had passed away and her dad was living in Canada. So they wanted me to go up there for the holidays. We went up there for like a month and I was sick the entire time and it was very cold. I'm not used to that kind of weather. I've never been so happy to get home in my life. They were wearing shorts. They called me on Christmas. My family's wearing shorts and I'm up there going, we can't even go outside. We're going to get frostbite. And I've been to Mexico. But no, I've not been.
I think I'm just confusing like the stories about your sister and stuff, maybe. And with that, along with that,
Now, I dated a guy from South Africa for a while.
that's why I'm thinking this. Okay. That's why I'm thinking this.
He wanted me to move to South Africa, but that was 2002. And I said it was just too uncertain to go.
And you didn't ever go visit?
No, we were like setting up to go. And then 9/11 happened. So it was just a bad time to go.
That'll do it.
Yeah. But my brother-in-law's father was pretty high up in the Air Force at one time, and he told them not to let me go because of white slavery in South Africa, that they will kidnap, and this is when I was younger, young women from the airport and sell them into slavery, which now we all know that's not hocus pocus.
Yeah, trafficking's a huge problem
Yep.
all over, which you're ultimately familiar with.
Yeah.
But are you more of a cooker? Like, do you chef, or are you more of a partaker?
Depends. I can cook, but I just have gotten out of the practice. When I was taking care of my mom, she wanted to eat out all the time. And when it's just it's not a lot of fun to cook, but I've got a roommate now and I will cook for us. So I'm actually cooking right now.
What's your favorite thing to make? Like you yourself?
Oh, like my favorite thing that I make?
Yeah.
A pot roast.
You know who else has been trying to sell me on pot roasts is Morgana.
Well, done right with the right gravy. You got to have the gravy right, and it takes a certain. Tell her about my cheese sandwich.
Stop. Cecil's tripping. That was his recipe that he brought for food night at one point, was a grilled cheese sandwich is like favorite food.
Well, my favorite food growing up, I think, was a ham and cheese po' boy. And that sounds like a ham and cheese sandwich, but no, it's the bread. It's that French bakery, French bread from New Orleans. We would have those when I would go stay with my aunt, and you just have to have that bread.
Yeah, well, I do love po' boys, but like I said, I haven't had one in a very long time. There's places like there's Cajun restaurants and stuff around Cincinnati, but it just ain't the same.
Nope, not the same.
My
cousin's son was going to chef school, and his wife is a sous chef, and they live in Homa.
Okay.
And there's some good cooking. He came when my dad passed away. He came and cooked us a big old crawfish etouffee, which was delicious. And I'll say this: my uncle makes one of the best gumbos I've ever had. When we one of our neighbors lost their son, he came up and he cooked a big old pot of gumbo for all them. And I've only had good gumbo like that down here because it's all about the roux. And a lot of people think what they have is gumbo, but it's not, because it's all about the roux.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of gumbos north probably don't even have roux at all. Like it's just kind of a stew almost.
Exactly, and they do that down here too. And it's like, no, it's like you don't have tomatoes in there. It is. I've seen people fight over that. But it's very, very different. People take their food serious down here too.
Yeah, I I can imagine, and what they should. They've got some of the best regional food
Oh,
on
yeah.
the planet.
Well, my uncle Charles, and this, like I told you earlier, I'm not a big fish eater, but I will eat fish I have caught. I'm a big speckled trout eater. Love speckled trout. Love redfish. Redfish is my favorite fish. I will pick it over a steak any day. And whoever invented blackened redfish, he got the recipe from them.
That's crazy.
Yes, and it is the best thing you've ever had.
I don't think I've ever had redfish. Uh,
What?
maybe that's not a common fish to this area up here.
Well, no, it's a deep sea fish. But
So
you go to the beach every summer.
yeah, I've never seen redfish. Let me see.
Red is what is it? Red drum, I think is the working man's name for it.
It is, yeah, red drum. There's also red snapper.
I think that's different though.
Redfish.
It's a goldfish with a big black spot around its tail.
Yes.
But you're talking to someone who was talking to a group of fishermen one day about sparkle beetles. And I'm very serious. They don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I'm talking about these damn sparkle beetles that speckled trout love them. We've caught them like, you know how you'll have like a split hook on your fishing line,
Yeah.
and you can catch. Every cast catching two at a time. I mean, I grew up serious fishing. Okay, grew up serious fishing, and talking about those damn sparkle beetles, and then I find out that was just what my aunt and my mother called them.
Not the technical
That's
name.
not the technical name of them. It was just what they called them. So
Yeah. I've been through that. Deception, family deception.
just felt like I was betrayed.
Okay. I know you grew up in the 80s and 90s. What is like one food that doesn't exist anymore that if you could just like yeet it into existence again and have it one last time?
I don't know.
For me, do you remember like this is definitely more of a 90s thing, but do you remember those cheesecake bars that Philadelphia used to have?
No.
They only made them for a few years, and I could eat. They were refrigerated, so it was kind of like in between an ice cream and a cheesecake, but it had the crust and it was in like a candy bar form. And my grandma would get those, and I could eat a whole box of them.
Carnation breakfast bars. They were like it was almost like the inside was like a crunchy peanut butter, but it was hard. Like, I mean, I don't know, but it was like chocolate covered, and it was delicious. And they don't make those anymore. I don't know that I don't really know the backstory on that, but that was something I've looked for, and it is not in existence anymore.
Yeah,
But
you can tell.
Good. I mean, most of the good food I had, we made ourselves. So
Yeah. I just mean like, stuff that you may miss that used to be a thing.
and there's a lot of stuff that my mom cooked that after her stroke I never got to experience again, which was sad. And that's like tomato gravy. Tomato gravy is the best thing ever, and she would only make it when she fried pork chops because there was something about that grease made the better gravy.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it was, and I had a friend, she tried to make it for me because she heard me talk about it, and it was like, no, that's like tomato soup. And I don't know what my mom did, but the tomato gravy was like legit gravy with tomatoes in it, and it was delicious.
That sounds crazy.
Yeah, like I said, it was something we did not have often. It was only when she cooked certain things, and it was delicious.
My Nana would make a macaroni and tomato, and I swear to God, the house would smell like it for a week afterwards. Tomatoes aren't my favorite thing though, but I can appreciate people enjoying them.
I'm not a I say that as I've gotten older, I will enjoy the occasional tomato sandwich. Just a tomato and blue plate mayonnaise and white bread.
My mom and dad do that, except add bacon.
Well, yeah, that's a bacon and tomato sandwich. That's a cultural staple down here. But no, just the tomato, and it has to be one of those from your garden because the
Yes.
ones from the store don't taste right. But
Yes.
and that I'm not a big tomato eater, but will occasionally crave one of those. That's what I had growing up.
I have that craving hasn't hit me yet.
Not old
I
enough.
Yeah, I never really jived with tomatoes much, but my whole family does. Like my papa used to eat them like
Mhm.
apples. Like he'd
Yep.
just salt and just eat
Yep.
them like an apple.
Yep. Yep.
And that's just not me. I don't know. It skipped a few generations.
Yeah, I'm telling you, you haven't turned 40 yet. Wait till you do, then you'll start wanting weird stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully not too weird. But we're coming up on time, so I want to give you some room to, like, if you want to steer people toward any books, shows, etc. And I will also include that in the spam mail that I send everybody after a while.
Well, I'm not very good at promoting myself, so I don't really know what to say.
Um,
Weird Realities is we're trying to grow in the right way. Um, we're a collective. We It's not just me. Of course, we have the Watching Weird show. We've got Blonde's Books and Campfire Tales. And then, like I said, I'm doing the little Tales from Cranewitch Hollow, just little straight to video voiceover series, and I'm having fun with that. I'm currently in between books. I've got an idea of something I'm working on with a friend there, but I need to get cranking on part 3 of my series.
mhm.
But other than that, not much is going on. Weird Realities is just about storytelling. We love people to come and share their stuff. That's one of the things I'm really trying to do, which we didn't talk about, but I'm trying to reshape it where it's really more about the books and the writing. Um, so this, I think the next newsletter will have a feature from Stephen Landry, and he is a phenomenal little independent writer that I know. And we had, you remember when the ice apocalypse was happening, everybody was getting all that snow,
Mhm.
and I said, "Hey, tell me your snowpocalypse story." And he wrote one, and so that's just kind of like a little. I threw a writing prompt out, and he came back with something, and it's fun. And so I want to reward people for doing stuff like that and sharing with us, because that's what this world's about. It's about, you know, one writer cannot satisfy one reader. We need
Yes.
more. We need more storytellers. We need more people sharing. And it's the same with podcasting, and it's the same with music, and everything is. If we're not creating, we're not inspiring other people. So we should all be supporting of one another and what we're doing. So that's kind of what we're trying to do, is build that community back up.
Nope, I completely agree. And so I have a link for all of Hadley's books. I'll have a link to where you can go sign up for that newsletter. The newsletter's always peak. It's always awesome. Tons of links and interesting things and facts and recipes and you name it. So I'll definitely include that for everybody. This has been great. I enjoy talking about this stuff. Whenever I sat out to do this show, it was really to hear more about people and your life and the things that inspire you. And yeah, I think it's amazing, like, to sit down and be able to even write a book. Like, I know in your circles it's a very common thing, but to normal people in the outside world, like, that is a lifetime accomplishment to even get the first one done. So I just wanted to thank you for coming and sharing with everybody, including myself.
Well, thank you for having me. I enjoyed it. Like I said, I can talk about all this stuff anytime you want to.
Sounds good. All right, and I think I've already plugged everything of mine. Go tell me some crazy stories, share some recipes, sign up for the spam mail. At some point, I may set up a voicemail for you to call and just leave weird voicemails. I'll play them. Like if you were to call in and beatbox for 15 seconds, I'll play that too. I'm gonna get in on some crazy stories next week, though. I think maybe take a chill from the strange and get into maybe just some bizarre Reddit stories or something outside of the food. But we'll see. But until next time, thanks everybody for watching, and I will see you next week. You have to call and be weird, Landa. That's your job, is to call and be weird. All right, y'all. We will talk to you later.
Thanks
See
for
ya.
having me, Tully.
Yeah.